Fans of the Rocky and Bullwinkle show will know what I mean when I talk about going back in time in our Wayback Machine. And that's what we're doing today. I'm standing by a projector that was used in the Roxy Theater from 1959 up until the late 1960s. Now, this isn't one of the actual projectors from the old Roxy, but this is the same model. The original projectors were replaced with newer equipment, and of course then were lost eventually when the Roxy burned in a fire in 2001, unfortunately. But I was able to find and acquire and rebuild projectors of the same model, and that's what this is. This is a Simplex E7. It was the third model that Simplex made. It was developed in 1938 and for its time was very advanced. These were manufactured up into the 1950s, and hence one got installed in the Roxy in 1959. They had an automatic oiling system with one pump. You could instantly oil the entire projector instead of having to put drops of oil in 20 different places as you did on earlier models. But the E7 was an easy machine to operate and a joy to operate. It also had a Simplex sound head that was used right up until the end of the days of film. The nice thing about these projectors is that you could update them. So this one had about 3 generations of updates on it to read the newest stereo soundtracks that were put on the film. Now the light for the movie was provided by the Lamp House. This is a Peerless Magnarch. This is the latest model of carbon arc projector that Peerless made right up in the end. And again, these were manufactured into the 1970s when carbon arcs were supplanted by the newer xenon bulbs. But at the time, the carbon arc, just like a welding arc where you can melt or cut steel, a carbon arc was the brightest man-made form of light that there was, except for the laser beam, which came out later. And it also is the same color temperature as the sun, so it was a very natural light, much better than you get with incandescent or fluorescent lighting, which, especially on film, gives a color tint to it, an unnatural tint. Well, as we said, it's a carbon arc. So inside the lamp house, you had carbon rods. This is an actual carbon rod. It is coated with copper to conduct electricity right up to the point. You have a positive carbon, and then you have a negative carbon here. You put electricity through them. Of course, you're going to get, when you get negative and positive together, you get a spark, but the carbon turns that into a flame, and the very intense ball of flame, the crater of the flame, has the light in it, produces the most light. This mirror, which we can show you, open it up for you. So here's where we insert the negative carbon into the projector, clamp it in. We can close that up, and then it's ready to go to make the light. The mirror collects that light, shoots it out through the film and onto the screen. These were very sophisticated. They advanced the carbons automatically as they burned away. You'd have an image of the carbons up here, and you just kept them on those lines lined up all the time. So that's how we made the light up until we got xenon bulbs. But it did require a skilled projectionist to be in the booth all the time to keep an eye on the carbons and keep a nice steady picture for you on the screen. Now the thing about these projectors is that the magazine where the new film goes, the reel of film, is a 2,000 foot magazine. So this is about 1,500 feet on this reel. But the film is running through the projector at 1.5 feet a second. That's 90 feet a minute is going through the projector. So it's going through very, very fast. So this 2,000 foot reel is only 20 minutes long. So a movie back in the day, depending on the length, would come on 5 or 6 reels. If it was a long movie, it might be 8 or 9 reels for a Ben-Hur or one of the big 3-hour type movies. So anyway, you would put we'll thread it for you, give you an idea. You would take the film from the top reel to the bottom reel. Now a good projectionist never lets the film go on the floor because you don't want it to collect dirt, because that dirt will get worked up into the picture area and it will eventually scratch the film. So very often nowadays when people are trying to imitate the look of film, they show a lot of dirt scratches and things on it. Yes, that could happen, but a good projectionist would never let that happen. and you could run a film for years and not have any scratches on it. The only time you got scratches if you had a sloppy projectionist who didn't clean his projector or let film go on the floor and it collected dirt from the floor. So you would put the film in. I've already what's called synced the machine, so it's ready to go. And a nice thing about the E7 projector is that it has a little lever that you bring down and it puts a light bulb right behind the aperture, so it makes framing up properly very easy and convenient. Now, put the film over all these sprocket wheels. I'm not racing to do it right now, but a good projectionist, we used to train to be able to thread within 30 seconds, because if something went wrong, you had to rethread, you could do that. Much of this I'm doing by feel. I don't even have to really kind of look at what I'm doing, and I'm setting my loops, and there we go, and then we run it down a few frames to make sure it's running right, and we're ready to show the movie. Check in on our channel in the future, as we'll be doing more videos on the projection booth behind the scenes, and we'll go back in history and we'll show how we used to do and how much more complicated it was to put a movie on the screen in the good, maybe bad old days.